truant, and then many drop out. This proposed registration ordinance will not solve all the problems because we realize there are mental health issues, parents or a single parent holding down multiple jobs, depression and other things that play into the situation. But this ordinance will help, and as more and more properties are improved, will make a difference. We want all of our children to get a good start in life and live in a safe and livable little unit is vitally important for their well-being. It's also true for adults and those with disability. But my heart goes out to the children. We need to protect them and to see to it that they begin life living in a rental housing that meets the standards set out in this ordinance. Now, regarding other cities with rental housing ordinances also on the agenda that Father Mike Kuzi and Susie Owen Wells have discussed. Our Safe and Livable Housing Committee has researched around 22 cities with ordinances. And Quincy is the only city, except one other, that does not charge a registration fee. And that city, Joliet, Illinois, charges no registration. But there is a $500 fine. They charge no registration fee. But there is a $500 fine if a property owner does not register. Inspections are required and conducted by the police department, and the first inspection is $100 for 1 unit, $120 for 2 units, $300 for 6 to 10 units, and the costs go up and up depending on how many units the property owner owns. In contrast, Quincy's proposed ordinance is the least restrictive of any ordinances we have researched. The property owners and landlords should say, thank you, please pass this ordinance as soon as possible.
Tanner Freiberg, 1409 Broadway, Quincy, Illinois. Couple of things I wanted to point out. I'm not sure who made the agenda for tonight, but I gotta say that might be the most slanted anti-landlord agenda I've ever seen. You brought many people from our religious community up here to talk about living conditions. Naked women, trash, kids not going to school. None of that has to do with being a landlord. It's not my responsibility for a kid to go to school or not. That's called parenting and being an adult. And tenants need to be held responsible. Pastor Tony, a couple things. You said that tenants are helpless. I would suggest reading a lease, because in a lease there's an expiration date and a tenant can move out at the end of that expiration date. Furthermore, a tenant can file a complaint with our inspectors and they can go and do a study. To my knowledge, there have been 4 legitimate complaints in the past year on rental properties. Out of the 6,174 units we have, that is a complaint rate of 0.0006. That means 1 in every 1,500 units had a problem. That's not a problem. The problem here isn't the landlords. The problem is the tenants that trash the apartments and destroy them. There needs to be something. It's got to go both ways. You got to have tenants have skin in the game in order for this to be fair. To touch on the previous speaker's point about funding this, if you look at this sheet, the spreadsheet right here that was provided, there's no fees in the application process. But if you look to the very next column, the inspection application, every single community has a fee on there. There's no possible way you can implement this program without adding fees. I did the math, and if we did 5% of the inspections on 6,174 units, that would be 309 units you would have to inspect a year. That's out of 251 business days, that would be 1.23 inspections per day. There's no possible way the City of Quincy can afford to do that with such a small department for inspections. So I asked, only thing, I'm good with the registration. It's not hard to go online and find a property owner. I can do it in about 30 seconds right now. But if you want us to register our name, email, and address, I'm good with that. But everything else in this, I'm completely against it. Thank you.
I live 836 South 8th Street in Quincy, Illinois. I am a landlord myself, And I must tell you that I am also a member of the Safe and Livable Housing Committee. This is a volunteer committee that for 3 years we have been meeting to study the issues of housing in, not only in Quincy, Illinois, but in 50 cities in the area. So we know the facts and we know the information. And any of you who think that this is unreasonable to have an ordinance enforced in Quincy, you don't understand, you're living in your privilege. Honestly, Mr. Freiberg, honestly, no, listen. Sorry. Okay. Wait. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. No, listen. Okay, stop.
Lisa, if you could speak to us.
Okay, I'm sorry. I appreciate that this topic has been brought up. Mayor Trobe, thank you very much. For anyone who doesn't know, there's a municipal code on the books that's been there for 30 years. It's a code that says there needs to be hot water, there needs to be doors that lock, there need to be windows on the ground floor that lock, there needs to be heat. We're not asking, this ordinance is a basic ordinance that says every family, everyone who pays rent has a right to these basic safety living conditions, okay? So this is not, we're not asking, you're not asking for anything out of line. Let's remember that when you're a landlord, like myself, it's a business. If you own a thrift shop, you have to get a registration. If you have a barber shop, in Quincy, you pay a registration fee. Let us remember that landlords are making money, and taxpayers are paying to flatten buildings in Quincy where landlords don't pay their taxes, the property gets foreclosed on, and we, the taxpayers, all of us, pay for landlords who don't take care of their property.
30 seconds.
Okay. One more fact, tenant-driven complaints don't work. I live on the south side of town. My next door neighbor at the time, the front door didn't lock. She had a teenage daughter. She told the landlord. He told her that if she couldn't afford the rent, which she could, because she never missed a payment, she could pay in other ways. All right, this landlord is making money. This is a business.
We're at 3 minutes.
He won't fix the door. Okay, there's many reasons to have better living in Quincy. Let's all work together.